So the last set of slides I was talking about if the master wanted to do a write transaction, writing some data, sending it to the slave. But let's say the master wants to do a read. So the master wants to grab data from the slave. So that there are some different function calls for that. First is this wire.requestFrom. So this is how it initiates a request. The master initiates a read request from the slave. So this is the first thing you would have to call if you wanted to initiate a read. Now this takes 3 arguments. One is the address of the slave, so that's going to be the first argument. The second is the number of bytes to read, the number of bytes being requested. And the third argument is an optional argument, a stop argument. Optionally, the word stop you can add in there to release the bus after you're done. So releasing the bus means asserting a stop condition. If it asserts a stop condition, then it releases the bus. The master says it's basically giving up access to the bus and saying, look, any other master can now take over this bus if they want to use it to communicate. Or if you don't do that stop condition, excuse me, if you don't do that stop condition, then this master is free to make more requests. It could say, oh, let me read some more data later, or something like that. It's probably, depending on the situation, you don't want to hog up the bus. You wouldn't want one master to hog the bus for a long time because then no other masters can use the bus. But it's optional. So you can have a stop argument that would indicate that this master is actually giving up the bus and allowing other masters to use it. Now, another function you're going to use is wire.read. Wire.read actually reads the data that's received, reads 1 byte. Wire.read reads exactly 1 byte. So what happens is when you do a wire.requestFrom, it requests the data, and the data eventually, in the slave's time, is received. Okay? So once the data is received by the master, it's put into a buffer on the master. And then the master, in order to access that data, has to call wire.read to read the bytes one at a time from that buffer, from that received buffer. Now there's another function called wire.available, which returns the number of bytes waiting. Now this is, you need this for a couple of things. Main reason is that even though the master requested a certain amount of data, maybe the master requests 10 bytes, the slave may not give 10 bytes for one reason or another. Maybe it doesn't have 10 bytes to give or something like that. So maybe less data is available than the master thinks. Or maybe the slave is slow and it's taken a long time in responding, in which case data might not be available immediately, right? So wire.available is a function the master can call to see if there's data available in the receive buffer that it can read. So these are the functions that we're going to use, and let's just show a little example of some code on the master side where the master is acting as a receiver. So say, and in this case, all I want the master to do is request from a slave 2 bytes and add those 2 bytes together and compute a sum. So we start off int sum equals 0, wire.requestFrom the address, whatever the address of the slave is, comma 2. I'm requesting 2 bytes because I want to get these 2 bytes and average them. So while wire.available, so while there is data waiting, right? If there is, while there's data waiting, you go and you say sum plus equals, so add to the sum, wire.read. Now, we call wire.read to grab the byte. We cast it to an int. So when we put int in parentheses like that, we're making an integer. We're saying, look, this should be interpreted as an integer. This is so we can perform proper addition on it. We interpret it as an integer, and then we add that to the sum, because sum is also an integer. So you would like wire.read's result to be cast to an integer as well, because you want to add 2 integers. So this is all it does. It just adds the sum, adds these 2 numbers together into sum. So it receives 2 bytes from the slave and computes the sum. And it uses wire.available to see how much data is actually received, to make sure 2 bytes are received. And that's it. Thank you.